Today on ESPN, it's one of the most keenly contested fixtures on the SPL calendar. When Hearts face Rangers at Tynecastle, it's intense. Today's game comes with over a quarter of this season gone, would you believe? Rangers sit top of the table. Ali McCoy's team have only dropped 4 points. 2 slipped away at home to St Mirren last weekend. The Gers missed an opportunity to take a 12-point lead over Celtic. Hearts will fancy their chances for today, though. Under Paulo Sergio on their own patch, it's played 4-1-4. Tynecastle becomes something of a fortress, just as Celtic. Clydesdale Bank SPL action live here on ESPN. It's Hearts versus Rangers, and it's definitely not one for the faint-hearted. Here's the SPL table on the back of yesterday's results, and all yesterday's SPL goals are on the way. The Rangers lead over Motherwell is 6 points. After Rangers' game at Hearts, Celtic can respond in a home game with Aberdeen that kicks off at 3 o'clock. 3 points separates the 6 clubs in the bottom half of the table. On duty in the ESPN studio today, Jim Jeffries and Mark Haitley. Jim, great to see you. I'm surprised to see you again. I thought you would have been snapped up by now. You'll be back working soon, I fancy.
Still enjoying the break at the moment, so hopefully get a chance soon.
No, we're going to take advantage of it. You won't be available for much longer. This fixture's pretty intense, isn't it? Looking forward to this one, Mark.
Yeah, it's a cracking game. I think one that the old firm always like to go over and visit the capital. It's always a good place that I've been in my times, and you know, Rangers in their recent history has been a good visiting stadium as well.
Jim, what is the buzz at Tynecastle on a day like today?
Well, there's no doubt when the old firm come to Tynecastle, they're just typical cup tie atmosphere, and that's what the games are played like. It's very high tempo, very passion. The supporters are very vocal, and it creates a great atmosphere in that stadium, which it always does, and you end up getting a really good game out of it, and there's no quarter given there.
It's I think a great game to play in because, as Jim just said, they're very competitive. Both sets of fans like to sing similar songs, and I think it's a great atmosphere. It's just a great old stadium.
Is there any chink in Rangers' armour at the moment? Can you see anything that Hearts can have a crack at? Well,
I think anything that Rangers have slipped up on has been more at home rather than away. I think their away form's excellent.
Absolutely.
And, you know, Hearts' form in the last 4 matches at home has been excellent as well. So something's got to get. We'll probably end up with a 0-0 today or something.
Let's hope not.
Well, I think Rangers will be delighted to be going here. You know, they've won 7 out of 10. They've only lost 1 in 11 as well. So, and they've got, as we're going to see in a minute, the main man playing up front, who's had a real good run against Hearts, Kyle Lafferty. Yeah, right. Let's get the team news now. Derek Ray, good afternoon.
Thank you, Ray. Good afternoon to you. And the hope today is that we can put to one side talk of unpaid wages, mounting tax bills and media boycotts and concentrate instead on what should be a thoroughly invigorating game of football. Not surprisingly, Hearts go with the same team. It's the same starting 11 for the 3rd match running. They found a winning formula, defeating Celtic at home and Dunfermline away in their last 2 games. Ian Black, who was substituted early on in the 2-0 win at East End Park, has recovered from a leg injury. Ryan Stevenson scored the goal that gave Hearts victory against Rangers here back in January. Now for Rangers, star striker Nikita Jelavic has been feeling the effects of a virus this week, and he begins on the bench. Into the side comes Lee McCulloch, who netted the only goal in Tuesday's friendly win against Liverpool. It's 4-1-4-1 for Rangers, with Sasha Papac back in the side and Hearts' old boy Lee Wallace on the left-hand side of midfield. Hearts and Rangers have the 2 stingiest defences in the Clydesdale Bank Premier League this season, but we probably should expect goals after all. In the past 7 meetings of these 2 teams here at Tynecastle, we've seen 25 goals in total. Stalemates are rare.
Derek, moving to issues off the pitch at the moment, we've read this week that Rangers' own Greg White is going to take legal action over comments about his former business dealings. But for Rangers fans, this word administration just won't go away at the moment. What's your reading of it?
Well, you hear it everywhere. I think, to be honest, most of us who don't have a business background are not really qualified to talk about administration. I mean, journalists bring it up all the time. What does it really mean in tangible terms? It's very hard to say. I think Ali McCoist has been playing a very clever game throughout all this and getting on with the football, and it helps, of course, that the results have been there, notwithstanding the disappointment last week against St Mirren, the concession of a late goal, but they have been letting the football do the talking, and that's all Rangers can do at the moment. And perhaps in a funny sort of way, that enables the players to rally around, to find a cause with all this grim talk going on in the background.
We'll talk about big fixtures. Rangers versus the Inland Revenue coming up very soon. That's the game the Rangers really need to win or get a draw at least.
Well, it's something that everybody is watching very closely. Everyone connected with Rangers Football Club. You know, again, I think it's a shame because, you know, we're here to talk about football. We want to talk about football every week, but sometimes we're prevented from doing so. You know, certainly with regard to Rangers, there is that extra dimension at the moment.
Derek, thanks a lot. You met Craig White this week.
Yes.
What's your reading of the situation within the club at the moment? And fans want to be reassured that the financial situation isn't going to be a problem.
Well, I think he's like everybody else. I think he's positive. He's got a plan in place for, you know, for the worst outcome. And I think we have to wait and see what comes up. And, you know, I think what we're just saying there with Derek, we're talking about everything apart from the football on the pitch at the moment on both clubs. So that's the disappointing thing. But Craig is positive. But we're in limbo at the moment. The fans are in limbo. He's in limbo. He doesn't know how much he's obviously can spend in January. All depends on the taxman. But I would assume that deal will come through pretty shortly, before the end of this month. And you know what normally happens, you do a deal with the taxman. That's hopefully the way that Rangers will go forward, and then into the January window, and hopefully the same sort of form that's been showed on the pitch will remain up until that January period.
Jim, everything in the garden doesn't appear to be rosy for Hearts at the moment. They're not communicating with the media because of the issue over there's an SFA inquiry going in about Paulo Sergio. So Hearts feel as though they can't talk to the media at all today. So we won't hear from Paulo Sergio, won't hear from any of the players. But reading the newspapers today, there's an issue over the wages being unpaid. How destabilising can that be for the players?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons that they've, you know, I'm sure there's a reason in there that they're not being allowed to speak to the press, because I'm sure the press would start to bring those questions about the wages and up. So it's not ideal, but, you know, in my time there, you know, they were a day or two late often. It was never really an issue. I know it's a bit long. I think in my time maybe a week at the very most, but it's a bit longer now, and I think the players are starting to be a little concerned about it, and hopefully it'll be resolved very soon, but I don't think there's any guarantees of that either.
Media reports say today that Hearts players are getting very concerned and they're considering about taking this further. Do you think this is all a little bit of a smokescreen, and the fact that Hearts aren't speaking to the media at the moment is because this issue is troubling them? I
would say so. I think they were taking all sorts of avenues and vehicles away from the players to comment on this situation. But as I say, I think, as Jim just said there, this will affect the Hearts players more than what's been going on at Rangers. The off-field activities, as long as players get paid, that's all they're worried about. The performances on a Saturday, winning a game and getting paid at the end of the month, that's all that players are worried about. And I would say that the situation at Hearts, yet again, will probably have an adverse effect on some of the players. Not all of them, some of them.
Well, it's a situation, just to explain to Hearts fans, we're not going to hear from Paulo Sergio today because Hearts aren't going to talk to the media. This is all because the SFA and Hearts have a problem. Paulo Sergio said something about the fourth official, Ian Brines, recently, and until that is resolved, Hearts feel as though that their manager and their players won't be able to discuss anything with the media. So, pre-match thoughts from the Hearts boss, and we'll be able to hear from the players afterwards as well. The match on the pitch is what's most important today. Nothing like a Hearts-Rangers match to clear the head for a Sunday afternoon. The fans of both clubs will make themselves heard for sure. Hearts have a fantastic home record, and that includes a victory over Celtic. And of course, they held Rangers at Ibrox on the opening day of the season. confirmation of the team news ahead of the Hearts Rangers game in the Jambos lineup today. Ian Black, who's passed the fitness test and makes his 200th SPL appearance. Also playing for Hearts today, Rudy Scatchell. He scored in Hearts' last 2 matches. He's hoping to score again today as well. Appearance too for Ryan Stevenson, who scored the winner against Rangers in the last meeting at Tynecastle. I'll take a quick check on some of the players in the Rangers lineup. Sasa Papac missed last weekend's draw with St Mirren because he had an infection of the sinuses, we're told. Lee McCulloch scored in the 1-0 friendly win over Liverpool in midweek. And also lining up for Rangers today, Stephen Whittaker, a solid, dependable figure, who's looking for an improved performance after last week's dropped points at home to St Mirren.
It was a hard one to take, especially losing at the last kick of the game. You know, we'd put a lot into the game, albeit not probably played the way we would have liked to, but you know, we still were 1-0 in the lead, looking to get all 3 points and slipped up right at the last second, so it was disappointing, but hopefully we can get back to winning ways as quickly as possible.
Have you been surprised by just how many points Celtic have dropped so far this season?
We've managed to go on a good run at the minute, and they've slipped up a couple of times, so there's this little cushion at the top, but we can't get, like I said, too complacent. We need to continue to push forward and continue to win as many games as we can. We obviously had the hiccup early doors of the European exit, which was disappointing, but performances since then we've managed to do well domestically, and hopefully we can continue down that road. You know, that's all we've got to play for this year, and we're determined to try and retain a title again.
How would you rate the back four at the moment, the way the defence is playing? Because in Bocanegra and Doreen Goyan, you know, 2 new centre-halves coming into the team, which normally takes a little bit of time to adjust to, but you seem to have taken to it very well.
Yeah, they're both obviously experienced pros, and you know, they've slotted in there fine, and whoever's been selected in defence, you know, we've managed to keep clean sheets domestically, and like I say, we can hopefully continue down that road again. You know, Lee Wallace has came into the team as well when Sasa's been ill, and he's done fantastically well as well. So you know, there's definitely competition for places there, and you know, it's all good for the squad. We've got a hard working mentality at the club. We've got a determination to win the matches and keep clean sheets. I mean, you know, the defence will get the credit for clean sheets, but really, you know, it works throughout the team. You know, the defence starts from the front line of attack, and usually Jelavic is up there for us, and you know, he works extremely hard for the team, as well as you know, the midfield and defence. So it's just a great work mentality we have throughout the team.
Hearts are on a bit of a run at the moment. Their home record in particular is very, very good. Does that make it even more difficult to go there and try and get something from the game?
A great stadium to play at. The atmosphere around the ground's fantastic. Obviously I played in the derbies there, but it's the same when Rangers go. You know, they're big games, the crowd are up for it, and with the fans being so close to the pitch, it builds for a great atmosphere. It's always going to be difficult, you know, whether they're on a good run or not. It's a hard place to go. They're always up for the games, and we need to make sure we're at it as well.